So everybody's fell in love with a stripper. But let me tell you what's worse than falling in love with a stripper? Falling in love with a church girl. And I've done it numerous times, and it has never, ever worked out. And when I mean a church girl, I mean those girls sitting down in the first 2 rows at the church. You know, the ones with the little napkin over their knees because they so holier than that. Them church girls. And yes, this is the story of how I fell in love with a church girl again, and it went horribly wrong again. It's story time. Now, I didn't learn my lesson at this point. I'm like, you know what? They're not all cracked up to what they seem, but yet and still, I'm at church. And I swear to God, to this day, I hate when the pastor says that whole thing of get up and greet your neighbor. Go to your neighbor and say hi. Go ahead, shake a hand, give a person a hug. You never know what they going through. Why? Why, Jesus? Why do they even have to say that? Because all it does is encourages all the single women to go talk to all the single men. It's a mixer at this point. A holy mixer. So, of course, this happens at this church situation. Now, the young lady who came up to me and gave me a hug and talked to me, she was freaking gorgeous. I'm talking body out this world, hair done, nails done, everything big, you know what I'm saying? Like, gorgeous. So I actually was interested, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, I may have to, shoot my shot, Steph Curry from the 3. But I was hesitant because of the whole past situations. If y'all need to know what those past situations are, just go back on the YouTube channel and you can see all of them because they're all tragic. So I didn't press it, you know what I'm saying? I saw her, but I noticed every time he said this in church, she made a beeline right to me, came over to me, gave me a hug, asked me how I was doing, asked if I needed help with anything, how was I adjusting, all this stuff, just, you know what I'm saying? And then she had tit-tat, walk away. So this went on for months. And then one time the pastor had asked me to help them out with some marketing and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And he was like, well, hey, I need you to work with so-and-so. So I'm now been put on an assignment with old girl. So we actually got to talk, share phone numbers, working on this project or whatnot. So I try to keep it totally professional. But she was like, all right, you know how you meet somebody and you're not trying to talk to them for whatever reason. You're trying to keep your distance. You're trying to keep it professional. But you notice every time you talk to them, y'all got a lot in common. Y'all into the same stuff. You find it very easy to talk to them, everything. And the one thing I did notice that she was extremely conservative, right? Extremely conservative, very like old fashioned, very just not really into like even like new music and stuff like that. Just not into going out, just very conservative, very keep to herself, go to work, go to church, go home. You know what I'm saying? No really extracurricular activities. And I'm like the complete opposite. I'm throwing events, I'm hopping flights, I'm doing podcasts, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm moving around and stuff like that. And she would say stuff like, when you slow down, you're gonna make someone, a great husband or something like that. But she, almost like she admired me, but my lifestyle and how I move was, a little bit too much for her. So we working on this project and she comes over my house. Now it was sort of like she was just dropping off some files, but she came over while I was cooking. So she comes in, I'm in the kitchen cooking, you know what I'm saying? We talk real briefly and she sees that I'm cooking and she says, oh wow. So she sits down and chills for a minute. So while she chilling, we get to talking just a little bit more and I learned just a few more things about her. And so she tells me, her story. So she like tells, because listen, everybody got a story of how they either got reintroduced to church or, why they going to church, whatever it may be. Everybody has a origin story, if you will. So her origin story is crazy, B. So she basically tells me the story of how she was, dating this guy for 5 years and everything was, going great, but she noticed like their intimacy just wasn't where it was when they first got started. And she didn't really know, it ruined the relationship. It made me turn into a mean and angry person, a bitter person or whatever. And I think I might have, pushed him away. But as we were trying to plan to get married, it just seemed like we were getting more and more distant. And so she tried to do the whole counseling thing, see if he'd go to counseling with her or whatnot like that. So they go to counseling. They start counseling for like 3 months, started to get better. They started, being a little bit more active or whatnot. But she was like, I started to notice that the counselor would always take his side in the argument. I mean, in the sessions or whatnot, always would like come up with plans that were in his favor and stuff like that. And then her eyes started watering, like, you know, like she was about to cry. And then she was just like, you know, and then, you know, I came home one night and, you know, our counselor was leaving the house. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe he had a home session. So I go in, I talk to him, and he's like, oh no, you know, I was having a little bit of a crisis. I called him and he was close in the area. So we talked or whatnot. You already know where this is going, right? So yeah. So she eventually caught the counselor and her fiance having sex. And it shattered her, just shattered her, like crushed her confidence, crushed everything. Because it's one thing when a dude cheat with a woman, it's another thing when a dude cheat with a man. And so it crushed her. And, you know, she was back at zero and she started going to church and, you know, trying to rebuild herself and rebuild her confidence. So she said, so she, you know, got back in, started doing that, started dating or whatever. So she telling me all this stuff. And I'm like, you know, that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to, you know, show some empathy or whatnot. And she was just like, you know what? You're just like one of the guys that, you know, I can really, you know, just be myself around and, you know, talk and, you know, be free. And I'm like, I mean, I wasn't doing nothing special. Keep it real. I was, you know what I'm saying? I'm in there making some salmon, you know. So she's just telling me this, you know, just talking, you know, I just feel like I can be free and I don't have to hide anything from you. And I just want to tell you, like, I am really interested in you, you know, physically, sexually, in a relationship. I just want to tell you all this stuff right now. So she dumping. I'm in the kitchen cooking. She comes up from behind me and she rubs the back of my neck. You know what I'm saying? She rubbing on my belly and she like, I just love your belly and this and the third. And I'm like, okay, this, you know, we about to fry some fish in here. It's not, I mean, because it's getting hot and heavy. Make a long story short, like, I cut the food off. I turn around. I give her a couple kisses or whatnot. And, you know, she rubbing on the Diamante area. I'm thinking it's about to go down, right? So I turn around and take the stuff off the stove. And she, like, grabs my butt, like, up under my butt and, like, almost, like, tries to press, like, my butthole. And I'm like, nigga, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm you know, what are you trying to do? Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't play like that. I know you and the doctor and your ex and all that, but we don't do that over here. And she just sort of like backed off and she was just like, I'm sorry, you know, I didn't know, you know, what you know, liked or anything like that. And, you know, sort of trying to play it off real coy like. And I'm like, fam, like, who hurts you? Like, I mean, because who does this? You know what I'm saying? Push her back a little bit. And I'm like, hey, you know, what's going on? And she's just sort of downplayed my fault. And so she sort of presses back up and, you know, tries to kiss me on the neck. You know, at this point, I'm a little turned off. I know she done came from a weird situation. Now, but at the same time, Shorty is super bad. Like, and she had like one of the maxi dresses off. So she started taking off the shoulders and pulling it down. Like, and them things came out like bang, 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 bang. And they just, you know how they drop and then they just bounce back? Like, bang, 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 bang. They did that, right? So I'm like, yeah. So at this point, me and Diamante is like, okay, let's go. It's go time. So I started, you know, straightening up. You know what I'm saying? And she, you know, still trying to press up on me, right? And so, make a long story short, you know, things went down this evening. She leaves. I see her, this is like on a Tuesday. I see her the next day at Bible study at church. Don't make nothing of it. She didn't come over, say nothing. But after church, she was just like, you know, come with me, and took me in her office because she had an office at the church. And so we was back in her office talking or whatnot. And she was just telling me more stuff and telling me about all this stuff that was going on in the church. And I was just like, what? She just like, after she opened up, she just started telling me everything. She was just a complete overshare, right? She telling me about who the pastor cheating with, you know, who the pastor's wife, you know, used to mess with, all this stuff, just gossip, right? She's like, hey, can you come over, I'm gonna cook for you, you cook for me. So I get over to her crib, you know what I'm saying? I come to the crib, you know what I'm saying? She cooks or whatever. She's like, I'm about to go change and put something on. And so she goes and, you know, she comes out and she got like on this sort of like lace see-through like negligee with like a little house coat with it and stuff like that. that. And so she come out, and I mean, the booty is bootying, the boobs is bouncing, and you know, we start messing around, fumbling around, and she tells me like, hey, I just want to tell you everything. I just don't want to lie. I want it to be 100% open and honest moving forward. And I'm like, I mean, you done told me a lot. And she tells me something else. So she's like, so my dad is locked up, and he's doing, you know, probably about 35 years in a Fed penitentiary, and I'm sort of running his business on the side. And I'm like, okay, what's his business? And it's just he owned like a bunch of properties, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. Real estate, most dope dealers do that or whatever. So she's like, yeah, you know, it's in some of the times I just have to come in and like handle some business or whatnot like that. And some of it is a little risque. And she's like, you know, with your skill set and who you are, I think you'll be really good as far as helping me out, and I can pay you. So I'm like, okay, what are we talking about? Now, when I show you, you're gonna see some things that are outside of the norm. And she's like, outside of the norm, and you're gonna see some people, you know. But it's sort of like one of those things, like if you get seen in this setting, you don't speak. Now at this point, I'm like, what we talking about again? You know, I hadn't brought me my little flask, so I'm open up my flask and I take a little sip, and I'm listening to what she's saying, and she's just like, look, I need some help, and I feel like you can help me with who you are and how you move and all this stuff. So a role reversal from what she had previously, you know, all of our conversations. Like I was learning her again for the first time. It almost seemed like the whole church thing was a front. Like it was like her secret identity. And yeah, it was starting to get really interesting. So we get in the car and we drive about 35 minutes. We pull up. It's like a strip mall. We walk into like what appeared to be a laundromat. We walk through the laundromat, go into the back of the laundromat. It's like a lounge little situation back on the back of the laundromat. So we, you know, go back into the lounge, and we in there. Now it's probably about 11:30, close to midnight at this point. So I'm seeing people from the church. I'm seeing people from, you know, the city. I'm just, you know, it's a little situation. As soon as we walk in, dude walks up to her. He's like, I'm gonna go get the manager. You know what I'm saying? Da 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 da. So manager comes out, you know, greets her and whatnot, shows us to a little section. Now we chilling, but I'm walking around, and it's like the way people looking at me, it's like nodding their heads, and she acting like it's completely normal. And I'm like, why is they looking at, you know, I'm like, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? So the DJ, he comes on the thing, he was like, all right, it's almost time for red hour, you know, da 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 da, red hour is about to start, da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, red hour, that's a nice little mix, you know. He'd have mashed up a couple songs. I'm thinking this, you know, it's about to get in, right? She sits us down to a section, and we chilling, you know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, it's like people start getting up and moving around, you know, talking, you know, all this kind of stuff. Like they all start getting out their chair and start mingling, all like at the drop of a hat. And then, you know, I just saw like some kissing and, you know, some greeting and some petting and some touching. Why was I in a secret location, swingers club, with the church financial officer? Like, catch me in part 2. I wasn't ready at all.